What's up, my tokers, jokers, smokers? It's Chef Rodney here with another edition of Daily Chronicles. Today, y'all, it's all about that culinary love. What's that? Well, we're going to come back real quick with my man Bryon Freeze from culinarylove.org and find out exactly what that is, y'all. This is the Daily Chronicles coming at your faces.
All right, proceed to smoke weed.
What up, y'all? It's my man Bryon Freeze, Chef Bryon Freeze, in the house, culinarylove.org. Y'all, Bryon, thank you very much for being on the show today.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Glad to be here.
Absolutely, dude. Like, so many people are doing so many good things, both in cannabis and in culinary and in just in food in general across the nation, that it was just bound. It was bound to happen, man, I feel, you know, and once we start doing the similar things, you know, those kind of vibes meld together. So real quick, man, you know, tell the people what you do.
What don't I do? VP of Sales and Marketing for a Japanese food importer called Y Imports in Illinois. I'm founder of Culinary Love, which is a hospitality nonprofit 501c3 dedicated to providing wellness resources, wellness events, mental health resources for people in hospitality, and continuing the conversation, and also taking action, because we always have conversations about, oh, we lost somebody in the industry, we're really sad, and then we go back to our regular day lives.
I feel that.
And then when I'm not doing those two things, managing a household with my girlfriend and my dog, and then I also do a lot of men's work, retreats, plant medicine ceremonies, and then on top of that, I also advise a robotics company based in San Francisco. So full plate.
So yeah, just listening to that just sounds exhausting, being honest with you. But at the same time, you know, that's a lot going on, you know, and I feel that I feel that that's a chef's life, man. We can't just have one thing on the burner at a time. We've got to have, you know, numerous irons in the fire, if you will. But man, you know, what really kind of drew me into the story is you know, culinarylove.org. That thing right there, that I used to run a mental health group on Facebook. You know, there was a couple tens of thousands of members, but people need help, man. You know, people need help because, let's face it, in the culinary industry, in the cooking biz, you sometimes can't afford health insurance, which makes you think that, hey, I can't get help even if I wanted to. You know, and I think that culinarylove.org is a good safe haven and needs to be, you know, it needs to be shout out from the rooftops across the world. If it's there to help, man, I don't see any harm in it. What I do see harm in is the old, you know, misogynistic and kind of toxic, narcissistic bullshit that we used to be fed. You know what I mean? Like all these, you know, brigadier chefs, you know, don't get me wrong, they had their place and thank you for your contribution, but we can't run things like that anymore, let alone, you know, a bastardized concept of, man, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I spent my industry time from 15 to 30 years old cooking both ends of that battle of being trained to be abusive, and it's a learned behavior, and then you do what you know. You order what you know. Off the order guide, you be a sous chef the way you were taught by your sous chef, right? So I was kind of an asshole, drunk, and then later in my career when I got out to LA, I was mentored by guys like Octavio Becerra, who ran Patina Group, and he's like, yo, you got to be like Phil Jackson, Buddhist style. You got to manage the personalities of the Jordans and the Pippins and the Rodmans, and then you got to manage the personalities of the Kobes and the Shaqs and the Rodmans. Yep. And everybody's going to react differently. You can't just be a tyrant. and I really started to evolve my management style, and working on more of a team family. And we're seeing a lot of that more and more, but there's still a lot of people gripping onto that old school mentality of this is the way we've always done it.
Yep.
And there's all these stories coming out about chefs doing some pretty undesirable things and pretty despicable things. I'm not going to judge them because that's a behavior that they were taught from someone. So Culinary Love is about all encompassing everyone in the industry, whether you are an owner or a chef that has maybe done some pretty terrible things, or you're the person that's succumbed to those things. We want to welcome everybody because what we want to do is have a broader conversation about rewiring the industry and how it's structured so that this is no longer a learned behavior that's passed on for generations, and we create new systems and processes for everyone to thrive and be successful at being creative with food and service to others.
You know, if I had to dumb it down and give people a processed, because let's face it, people love processed food these days, a processed version of what that meant for, you know, the people that don't understand what, they can't wrap their heads around it. Let's face it, those people exist. I would say this: listen, you can't be mad at a pig for wallowing in the mud. That's what that's the nature of the beast. You can't be mad at us for being these chefs, but at the same time, if you want to be the change and see the change, be the change. You know what I'm saying? That's my point. If you want change, you gotta do it yourselves. And dude, I can't commend you enough for, like, you know, wearing all of those hats and working with the people that you're working with, man. It's insane. You know, that being said, like, I don't think anybody else that hasn't been in the industry, you know, and passed on that toxicity and is a recovering narcissist, I don't think that they have the ability to sit down and say, you know, you're doing this wrong. Because quite honestly, if I owned a bank, I'm going to have to hire a bank robber to know how to get into the son of a bitch. You understand? Because let's face it, everybody's going to say that they know how to do it. That's fine. But no two chefs are alike. I'm going to give you that. We're not special little snowflakes. You can call us whatever you want, but no two chefs are alike. You might have someone that's very, 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 very similar, but at the end of the day, this chef might like a finger in the bomb, and this one may not. There's certain idiosyncrasies that each chef has. Yet the style in which they cook, in which they're taught, in which they manage people and things of that nature, that's extremely similar and passed down. And you can tell through, you know, brigadier chefs, you know, Paul Bocuse, you know, that's my point, to drop a very heavy name on you, but that's where culinary came from. And honestly, I think we should go back to, I think we should adapt a Richard Bronson kind of mentality in the food industry. I don't care what the customer says. I really don't, because they're wrong anyways, first and foremost. They're never right, ever. Let me tell you that. So I think that we shouldn't really rely on what the customer says per se. I think that we should rely on professionals being professionals. You know what I mean? If it takes 15 minutes to do a travesty known as a well-done steak, then so be it. But it's going to take 15 to 17 minutes to do properly. I don't give a shit how lit you are for your movie. You know, that's not on me. You understand? Eating is meant to slow people down. I want to make one quick comment and then kind of go into something else. I think that if you went into a surgery and you were, let's say, getting an appendectomy, the most basic and rudimentary of surgeries, okay, it takes, you know, around an hour or so. They're like, all right, cool, it's going to take an hour and 15 minutes. You're like, can you make that 45? I've got to be somewhere. They're going to look at you funny. You understand? That's my point.
It comes down to education. Mm-hmm. We've got a society of instant gratification, whether it's fast food or Amazon or Wi-Fi, right? I fly for work all the time and people are pissed they don't have Wi-Fi. I'm like, dude, I'm just stoked. We're 30,000 feet above the planet and not dying right now. I'll do 3 hours without a fucking... without a Wi-Fi connection and read a book, you know, or you know, Amazon folks, you're mad that your delivery didn't show up in 3 hours. Remember when that wasn't even a thing? So what happens is we create technology and we become way more addicted to said technology, and fast food was one of those catalysts, and the Food Network then came along and glamorized being a chef. So everything about food is now sexy and glamorous, and people don't understand the time and preparation that goes into it. So it's an education piece that's missing. It's a critical thinking piece that's missing, and it's meeting the guests' expectations and exceeding them, but also also educating them that there's certain things that can't happen. Like I can't nail a well done steak in 10 minutes the correct way. You're going to have to wait a little bit of time, you know. So maybe you do, and then you educate your staff to make sure that that point is passed along to the guests, so that you don't even have that situation in the first place. Because there's still a lot of finger pointing and victimhood, not only in society but in our industry. And listen, your struggle, your suffering that you've been through, it sucks. We've all got a story and a scar we can share from working in hospitality. I'm not trying to take away from anyone's struggle or anyone's suffering. What I'm trying to say is, though, what are our measurable actions to change the shit that we've been dealing with? Because are we going to keep talking about, oh, this is messed up and this person did this to me, or this person died, or this, or are we going to plant new seeds to grow new things, to create new opportunities, so that we can have an industry that's fun to be a part of again?
Right. You know, and that tastes better. You know what I'm saying? Because all of that, you know, convenience and all of that instant gratification just led way for these fast food restaurants to pump out the bullshit. Okay, I not specifically calling out one or the other, but all of these nuances are really shifting things in a way, food-wise, that we're going the wrong way. You know what I mean? That's the problem. And so I look at it this way. You've got many of the world's greatest chefs, you know, from, I'll say it, you know, from Bourdain to Escoffier, around the alphabet that way. If you do all of them, they're rolling in their graves right now at you know, the new chicken sandwich at Chick-fil-A, or the new, you know, chicken sandwich at this place and that place. Holy shit, they don't give a shit. They're like, yeah, that's great, but how many people know how to cook? Well, if the pandemic, you know, has showed us anything, the long lines at these grocery store, or not long lines at grocery stores, the long lines at like these fast food restaurants versus the grocery stores, and the fact that our industry just got gutted. You know what I mean? We're burning people out. You know, mental health is at an all-time high because they're working for penance. You understand? They're working for, and I'll say it, peasant wages. Okay, listen. Statistically speaking, if you just do the math in the country, if you make anything less than $36 an hour, you cannot live by yourself. You sure as hell can't raise a family, and you can barely even afford to own a car, let alone a home, okay? Shit is expensive. I'm not going to lie to you. Rent is too damn high. We've known this for a long time now, but yet done nothing, you know? Okay, if you can't afford to pay your cooks, I'm not saying pay everybody $36. No, that's not what I'm saying. If you can't pay them enough to live outside of work, you don't deserve to be in business to begin with. Now, is that kind of generalized? Yes, but it's also narrowed down to those specific interests, you know, those specific people and you know, little facets of those little intricate, like, you know, incidences that happen. You know what I'm saying? You could have a dishwasher that's worked for you for like 35 years and he's making $19 an hour. He should be making a little more than that, but he's been with you for for all those years.
He also should be your cook. He should be your cook, because you should have moved him up for his loyalty and work ethic.
Well, I'm just assuming he didn't want to, but
our industry's structure is on razor thin margins. So if you've been in the shoes of an operator, a chef owner, or an owner, successful restaurants are lucky to put 5% to the bottom line at the end of the year. Okay, it's very rare. I worked at many restaurants in my career. I opened 7. None of them are still around. They all went under because we were making mistakes and we weren't doing the right thing. And I was an executive chef appearing on the Food Network in 2014 and 2013 in Los Angeles, and I didn't have fucking health insurance. Okay,
that's my point.
At the time, it sucked. From an operator standpoint, though, where's that money going to come from to pay my health insurance if we're already struggling to pay for our liquor deliveries and our food deliveries? So what I'm arguing is that the entire system needs to be reset and rebooted.
100%.
And it has to come with educating consumers that are used to artificially low pricing. We have to increase our prices. And we have to do it right now anyway because of COVID, because of no staff, because of logistical issues, stuck at the ports, all that crap too. We don't need to go down that rabbit hole. But we have been paying artificially low prices forever and eating crappy food at a low price. By the way, there's a myth. You can eat healthy for cheap. You just have to know how to cook, right? I can go to the farmer's market. I can get a CSA for $55 and feed my girl and I for a week. So don't tell me that it's too expensive. But we have to shift our thinking, and we have to get out of our comfort zones. We have to get over our fears, and to get over our bullshit, and we have to create new systems. And I'll be the first to say, I can't do it on my own. I don't have all the answers. I think a really good solution off the bat for a lot of businesses is to be open 5 or 6 days a week so you have a guaranteed date off. and then you give a small sliver of equity to your team. They do that at Noma in Copenhagen, I believe. Everybody's got a little sliver. That's why even when they won the Pellegrino Restaurant of the Year, they flew the whole staff. And when the dishwasher didn't have his passport, they all wore his face on their shirts instead of wearing tuxedos. So there's people out there that are starting to say this is bullshit. Sean Brock is doing therapy sessions for his people. So it can be done.
Shout out Husk. Shout out Husk, man.
Yeah, shout out Husk. But we have to get rid of these we're as a society, this isn't just hospitality. We're very gripping on for fear of change to what's this is the way we've always done it. And my argument is, first off, you need to eat some psychedelics and open your mind. And second off, the way that we always done it isn't always right. If anything from COVID, we expose that many industries are on houses of cards, and the hospitality industry was one of the first ones to get hit in 08 and the first ones to get hit during COVID because everyone tightens up their belt and they stop going out to eat. Technically, going out to eat is a luxury. So we need to change the way we do business to survive and to make sure our people are taken care of. And that's part of this conversation and the action steps we're putting out there.
Oh, absolutely. So I want to go back to Paul Bocuse, okay? And I want to talk about Sean Brock. And I want to ask you real quick, what is it those two have in common? I mean, we could name a number of things, but I'm going to help you here. They changed the cuisine. They didn't change what the food was. They changed how they cooked it. You see what I'm saying? Same methods, but instead of having, and that's part of what Michelin quality is. Okay, they'll take a food and give it to you a way that. Okay, so we're familiar with lobster thermidor. I've done it thousands of times. It's not fun. It is what it is, blah, 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 blah. What if you changed that and did a chicken thermidor? Oh, let's call it, no, that's not the point. You know what I'm saying? Okay, you've got, rabbit fricassee. Well, why don't you do that with, I don't know, pig? You've got duck à l'orange. Why don't you do that with, I don't know, rabbit? You know what I mean? So it's like switching these things up. It does not shatter, what they are. That's what people don't understand. For example, what was it? I'm trying to think of. Like you've got a full English breakfast with your bangers and your mash and everything of that nature. Okay, your authentic full English breakfast. Okay, with your blood sausage, the whole nine. The reason that all those foods are on there aren't because it's what everybody was eating at the time. It's because that's what they had available. That's all they had. You understand? And so that's become the stature for a full English breakfast. So much so that it's become the favorite of people over time. That's the point. So when Paul Bocuse and Sean Brock started these new ways of cooking these old school dishes and things like that, tipping the hat back to the people who they learned from, they did it in a different way. Now, I guarantee you that Paul Bocuse was nothing to Brazier before him. She was a brigadier general. If you've heard her, I'm reading horror stories about this, but Paul Bocuse turned it to mold it his own. You look at Thomas Keller, in the French Laundry, same idea. You understand? Sean Brock. You've got all of these chefs that's what makes them special. They tweak it a little bit of a different way. They're able to do this and do that. Then you look around them, and it's not just them, homie. You know what I'm saying? It's this entire institution. It's all these cats and changing the way that they're cooking. Shout out to my man, Sam Hart out at Counter. Right now, that homeboy started a restaurant, successful restaurant, during COVID. Is so successful. He's about to fly his entire staff out to Chicago to eat at the places he staged at and worked at. So that's my point. You can't do that if you ain't successful. And that's what we're all about, man. Me, you, everyone here. So I honestly think that this is, instead of just being like an entire breakdown, base, breaking it down to the bare bones. That's what we're doing. We're kind of letting the cream rise to the top at this point. The people that have survived this toxicity and this culture, we're the ones that we're going to change, cuisine as we know it. We're not changing the food. We're just going to change the method behind the food. That's the difference between, like General Tso's chicken and Peking duck. They're just cooked differently. People don't know that, like with Peking duck and with Szechuan chicken, it's not a sauce. It's the way it's done. So that's what we need to educate more. And it's not just with food. It's with cannabis. It's with, medicine in general. It's with mental health. It's just across the board. And honestly, to tell you the truth, I think, and I think you think this as well, that all of those conversations should start at the dinner table.
Yeah. Food is an integral part of everything we do. How many times I've catered and it was like a wedding or a funeral or a celebration or a birthday party or, if it's insert event, food is everywhere all the time. And it's something that I think as a society, it's just expected to be there, that we take it for granted. And we need to start appreciating that we have access to it. And I think that we just need to keep pushing that narrative that, this takes time to make this.
Yeah.
You're talking about dishes like shrimp cocktails, one for me that I couldn't stand doing at this restaurant I worked at in Newport Beach. So I did a crispy rock shrimp with tomato foam and a horseradish aioli with micro celery. So it was all the components of a shrimp cocktail
right,
into a completely different dish, but that dish also became more work, right? So then it's more prep, which means we're there more. So I think it's a shift back to more comfortable foods and doing them in a fun way. And it happens every time there's a crisis in our society, is we go back to more comfortable foods, meatloafs and burgers and hot dogs and polentas and stuff and pastas, but let's put a fun, healthier spin on it. And let's educate the guests that this is going to cost you more so that we can pay our staff better. I mean, in LA, people like to shit on LA, but for years they've been trying to add on 3% to provide health insurance to their people, and they get panned for it. They get panned for it, though, by the consumer. So this is an education to the guest. Right. This is an education to the guest. And then we at Culinary Love also long-term, as we build this nonprofit, want to create a co-op for young, healthy people that work in the industry to contribute money to, and to use that to go out and get really, really beautiful health insurance plans. Because let's be real, insurance companies salivate over insuring young people because we don't have as many health issues. So why can't we take the power into our own hands instead of relying on our job or instead of relying on the government to figure shit out? We're a solutions-oriented nonprofit. We're not here to wait for someone else to do something, and we're going to make mistakes along the way. We're going to raise our hand, because I'm the first one to always say, I don't always know what I'm doing. Let's find somebody that does. I tell members that volunteer for Culinary Love, I say, bring me the craziest, wildest idea you've heard of, because we could execute on it through somebody we know in our network. And then maybe we don't, but we at least can say we try, we put in that effort and we made that attempt, and we learn along the way. And I think the biggest problem in our industry is people aren't willing to do all these things that we're talking about.
Oh, absolutely, man. I agree with that, and you always miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. As redundant as that statement is, it's the truth. I mean, obviously you're going to miss the shots because you didn't take any. I mean, that kind of makes sense, but I really look at it, what happens when you take your one shot and you put too much stress on it? Man, you're not going to be able to cook it right. You know what I'm saying? There's been a lot of restaurants that I've staged at where I was just terrified of the chef already, because I've heard this and heard that and heard this, but I needed a job, but I had to learn from them. And there's a couple of times, in those stages that those people, I'll be honest with you, they're like, I hoped you learned something. I was like, yeah, not to cook like you.
Yeah,
that's really what it comes down like.
That's the thing I used to tell cooks, and people would tell me when I was young in the industry, you learn things good and bad at the place you work. So if it's a really terrible experience, you're still learning. Yep. You're learning that that's the behavior you don't want to bring with you when you're in charge of the business.
Exactly, and I don't think that anybody should turn away from cooking just because they don't get paid enough or they're treated like this and like that. I think that we can make this, a better institution and a better, overall experience for everybody moving forward in time. But I want to roll right into the first time dubs. I want to find out kind of what makes you tick, and stuff like that. We're going to take a real quick message from Monroe Street Fair, y'all. You got to peep this out. Monroe Street Fair next year is going to be off the chain. I hate saying that. I feel even whiter having said that, but it's cool, man. It's the truth. But Monroe Street Fair, y'all. We're back with Chef Bryon Freeze. Yo, I gotta be honest, man, like, culinarylove.org. We got to do more. You know what I'm saying? We got to figure out a way to get this to the masses, you know, more than we already are. I think there's a lot of people out there that, you know, this could be a voice for the unspoken, you know, a light in the darkness. And I think that, honestly, I think that it could save a life or two, you know, so it's worth doing.
We already have, and here's something I want to share with you. Okay, yeah. So there's a couple of chefs that are friends of mine, and that's kind of why Culinary Love started. This goes back to when Bourdain took his life in 2018. I was in Charleston, South Carolina on a work trip. It was flooding that day. For any of you that go to Charleston, when it rains, it floods. And I was choking back tears all day. Grown men and women from the industry that idolize Bourdain were calling me, not knowing how to process. And I'm barely hanging on, like not knowing how to process this. And we're like, that's the day that I knew we had to do something. And Culinary Love was already an idea to be a food truck to feed the homeless. And I discovered that my friend Bill Bracken in Huntington Beach, California was already doing that. So shout out to Bill and his efforts to feed those in need. And we pivoted into wellness for hospitality. And there's already been a handful of chefs that it's more of like a mentorship program where they just check in with me and I check in with them. And they're getting help that they need because they're finding comfort in being able to talk and share what they're dealing with somebody. One of the biggest issues we're having, though, is during COVID, we thought we'd be very impactful because people are struggling, but our industry culturally is wired to be tough. Throw some salt on it. Oh, you cut yourself, cauterize it. Oh, you hurt yourself,
you're not given
show
time
up.
You're not given time to be weak, for sure.
Yeah, people are not ready to open up yet. Now, when we hosted the Roadrunner viewing party 2 weeks ago for the premiere in Tempe, Arizona, shout out to Alamo Draft House. We hosted a viewing party for Bourdain's new documentary. Full studio, or full theater, chefs, servers, bartenders, people were coming up saying like, man, this is awesome. I can use this, or how can I help? And we got to break through that first stigma of like, it's okay to not be okay. People don't want to talk about that. People, I'm fine. What you're doing is amazing. Just, I'm good. Are you though? And if you're not, it's okay. Dude, there's days I'm not good and I live in this work. Okay, so we have to be more comfortable about talking about you're not doing okay, and then we have resources. And maybe you don't need to go to a therapist. Maybe you don't need to be sober. Let's just go for a hike. Mm-hmm. Spending 30 minutes in nature a day will help your mental health tremendously. Working out physically, eating better contributes to your mental health. How many of us chefs cook this healthy, amazing food for our guests, and then we go to McDonald's and we do a shot and a beer till we black out? So we have to start with these small little changes to make these giant impacts instead of shooting for the moon and missing right away. Let's just go for a hike. Let's go for a walk if you can't hike. Come meet me at the gym. Let's go bowling. Let's go do disc golf. Let's go do yoga after work, because by the way, we're going to offer yoga for people in the industry instead of going to the bar. Let's go blow off your stress of the shift by doing some downward dog. Mm-hmm. You know, so we're trying to think. I mean, I'm not
that flexible, but I would pick that over the, out of the two. But, I've been sober for coming on 6 years now. And I'll be honest, cannabis saved my life, but everybody's heard that story. If not, you will soon. But the fact of the matter is, like, I can hear the squeaky toy. I'm sorry. My dog has got a squeaky toy. He loves it. But let him, it is what it is. But I look at it this way, like, cannabis literally saved my life. I'm not just saying that. It takes a lot for people to say I'm not okay, and they don't want to, because then and somebody else in your business. I get that mentality, but the problem here is this. It's okay to say that you're not okay. It's okay to say, listen, I'm fucking hit, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm mentally unturned, and it's okay to have, I wouldn't say PTSD, but a little bit of PTSD every now and then. Like, you're like, dude, for some reason I just can't stand being here right now because this is where this and this happened. Like, that energy still stays there. Y'all, energy is real. And I want you to understand that if you were once an alcoholic, or you were once a narcissist, or you were once a toxic person, that doesn't condemn you for the rest of your life. You understand? If you didn't murder anybody, you didn't do anything that obscene, then why can't you move past that? That's my point. You know, that's the thing. I don't drink any alcohol at all anymore. You know what I'm saying? I buy alcohol-free mouthwash even, you know? That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't smoke cigarettes anymore. I don't do lines of blow anymore. Molly used to be a fun time. You know what I mean? I don't do those things anymore. I literally just smoke weed. People were like, oh, come on, though. Come on, I'll see you tipping back. Yeah, that's a weed drink, believe it or not, because they've got weed teas and shit now. That stuff's amazing. You know, there are these sober bars popping up all over, and I fucking love it, you know, and that sobriety is because of weed, man, and in my opinion. And speaking of weed, I want to talk about your first time. Now, this is meant to be incriminating. This is meant to be juicy because it's the good part of it. You know, it's to kind of set course and let people know that, hey, there is help out there. And just because like you're smoking a CBD joint or a THC joint, bro, that's not, you know, that's California sober, they would consider it, but I don't see that as being, you know, fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the thing. If I'm kind of high and like I need to be serious, I can turn on my adrenaline and snap out of that. Whereas if you're drunk, it don't work like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say. More so, just real quick before we roll into that story, man. You have an endocannabinoid system, you don't have a Jack Daniels system. That's why when you have a piss test, you can drink. Couple days later, you'll piss clean. You smoke weed, it's going to stay in your system because your body doesn't want to let it go. So think about that. Now, this first time story, man, kind of set the stage, right? Where were you? What were you doing? Like, when did you first smoke weed?
I was doing all kinds of shit you're not supposed to do when you're a teenager. I grew up in Baltimore, in the suburbs of Baltimore. Ooh. And for high school, we moved out to the county in like almost towards Western Maryland, and it was like one of those farm towns where there's no new kids except like my brother and I, right. And you're instantly an outlier. So to fit in, you start doing stupid shit. Because you're just like, I don't want to be the weirdo no one wants to hang out with. But I was like 6 feet. I want to
set the stage, yeah.
I was like 6 feet tall, like 9th or 10th grade. I get my license. I started rolling with all the older guys that are graduated or they're from the rival high school. They don't know me. I can create this perception of who I am. So they're like, let's get you stoned. And I remember the first time I smoked shitty, seedy, like East Coast weed back in the late 90s. I was like, I don't really feel anything. I don't feel anything. I'm fine. And I go to drive us to a house party, and man, I was white knuckling the steering wheel. Like, I didn't know where I was.
Did you have like one finger on each side of the road?
Just
so
like,
you wouldn't,
looking over the steering wheel like it's gonna help, you know. And also back then as a teenager, you think you're invincible, right? That's why there's so many dumb gigs, right? Yep. So yeah, we would just get ripped, and these older dudes in their late teens, early 20s, living in like a crappy little apartment, had a parking meter that they had turned into a ball, and if you saw it, you had to hit it. And nobody was clearing that thing, man. We're talking a parking meter. Yeah. So, needless to say, there were the first few times, and the first time in particular, I didn't know where I was, panicky as hell, but still dumb driving cars in this small town. It was like, we're talking like small town where like the lights are flashing yellow after like 10 o'clock at night. Yeah. So luckily I didn't do anything to hurt anybody else or myself, but it was definitely a terrifying experience.
We don't condone any of that. You know, driving under the influence, regardless of whatever it is still driving under the influence. You know, we want to say that first and foremost. Secondly, don't go ripping out parking meters and trying to use them, turn them into bongs. People, we're smarter than that. That does sound really cool, and I now want to kind of do that secretly, Loki complex, but not going to do it because that is illegal. So, but that is I don't feel like you got shortchanged on that. It's kind of funny, but at the same time, like that's pretty good. I like. I've never heard that.
Small town hijinks, man. I mean, we threw cake parties in the woods. That was like, you know, cows. There's like, I don't know, man. I'd never even seen a lot of that stuff because I was in Baltimore and in neighborhoods outside the city. So to go to that environment, and you're like, man, you guys are creative.
I do feel that there's a sense of like banjos and bong abilities, you know, in kind of hills and shit like that. Cause like, all right, so obviously people that know me, and you know, and my book is going to say this here soon, but I have a lot of roots in Tennessee. My mom had a restaurant there. I grew up there, X, Y, and Z. well, you're gonna smoke weed in Tennessee at some point in your life. And so, you know, my family lives way out in the country, and I don't remember what it was. I think it was like, it was attached to their boat. Because that was their thing. They would just go out and go catfishing at night, be on the boat, smoke a little weed, you know what I'm saying? Who's going to bother them? Catch you a bunch of fish, come home, call it a day. Like, that's what they would do. And they turned like this rudder or some shit that was not functional, by the way. Like, you could dip it in the water, but that sucks, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't smoke it in the water. But if you flipped it over somehow or some shit, they would smoke out of it. I thought that was ingenious as shit, and I was like, how long has that been there? They're like, since we've owned the boat. I was like, so you're here to tell me that you bitches was holding out and smoking while I passed out here when I was young and you guys could have went to jail and shit. They're like, yeah. I was like, cool. That's all I said. I was like, cool. So, I mean, I get it, because as soon as you hear those banjos, like, and I say that in the very nicest way, my family, I get to say that. That's how I was raised, but... You know, as soon as you hear those banjos, you know, the MacGyvering of bongs starts to happen in the back of my mind. I'm like, oh, shit. This is going to be good. You know, this is going to be good. But, oh, man, that's terrifying. I mean, here's the thing. You've got, like, social society pressure on top of, like, you know, the hormones raging, and now you're baked out of your mind. You're like, I feel this is awesome. You look back at it now, you're like, I was an idiot. Like, just... No question. But at the same time, we're all going to be little shits. Whoops. That, you mean that's what happens,
you have to go through life making mistakes to grow. Yep. And when we insulate people and they don't fail and they don't fall down and they don't pick themselves back up, then you get people that are not prepared to handle adversity and have critical thinking. So while I look back on that and say, what an idiot, I get to be the person I am today because I already went through being an idiot.
Absolutely. And that's the point. And that encompasses the idea of the first time dub sesh there. You know what I'm saying? Like that past story. Yeah. Yeah. Listen, we fucked up just like y'all did, you know, just like you're going to X, Y, and Z. It doesn't matter. We lived. Okay. We didn't kill nobody. We didn't really do anything that bad. But at the same time, it was a travesty at the time and very perplexing and trying for us. You know, monkey see, monkey do. We get it, but just don't be dumbasses when you did it, you know, and that's kind of the idea there. We're going to take a real quick commercial break before we roll into the second time dub, man. We're going to find out, like, dude, you know, what it is you like to smoke and things of that nature when we come back from this message from Resrid, y'all. Clean your pieces. That's resrid.com, y'all. They're actually going to be sending me a bunch of stickers and stuff, and I want to do a little bit of a giveaway. So anybody who wants some stickers or anything, yo, just comment below Resrid is #1, and we'll send you some free shit. So we're back with my man Bryon Freeze, Chef Bryon Freeze, culinarylove.org. Yo, this is the second time dub, man. This is where we kind of break it down for people, and it's all about healing with cannabis, you know, mainly. Both mental health, cooking, everything we've talked about intertwines with cannabis one way, shape, or form or the other. This is kind of how, like, we show the importance of knowing what it is you're healing. You know, is it insomnia that's your issue? Is it aches and pains? Is it PTSD? You know, this is kind of like where we get it into the mind of other people and see what makes them tick. So, yo, Chef, real quick, what's like your favorite way to consume cannabis, man?
Either through edible in a low milligram dosage or through vape pens. They're the move for me.
Okay. I see that.
Yeah. So prior to even being a chef and cooking, I was a catcher in baseball for many years. So you're squatting down and kind of messing with your knees, right? And then you're standing
on your
back feet
too, I would guess. Yeah.
So I have and then I was in a really bad car accident in California where my spine got a little messed up. And so you have lower back, spine, knees, joints. And I do a lot of working out, and I'm getting more into yoga. But then at night, especially now that I'm traveling, I'm in airplanes all the time, and I'm walking around a lot. It's some sort of like Larry OG was my jam for a while. Sometimes Blue Dream, but I tend to go towards like hybrids. Sometimes I'll do a 1-to-1 because sometimes I'm not trying to get super baked. I'm more for pain relief. Anything that really works well for helping sleep and relaxation and pain relief. And edibles are amazing too. Shout out to Defy Edibles in Phoenix, Arizona. They actually use my company's purees in their gummies, and then I get to eat them to help me relax and sleep. So it's like a win-win for everybody. But yeah, those are the two preferred. I mean, people say flower is still the best way to consume, but flower for me hits pretty harsh. And you still stink, and in the business professional world, you don't want to be carrying that smell around. So the vapes, what is it usually, brass knuckles or Steezy are really good options that I go with, and it's kind of where depending on which state I'm in where it's legal, what I can pick up when I'm on the road. So
see, I feel that in so many levels. At the same time, like I see a lot of traveling happening here soon, hopefully knock on wood, in my future. So I feel that like some kind of vape or concentrates would be helpful in edibles for me, because first and foremost, I'm a medical patient. I am, you know what I mean? I'm where I'm at because of cannabis. So if I'm able to kind of, at least smoke a CBD joint or some shit, then I'm not coming to the state. You know what I mean? But luckily, most of it's green. I feel that in so many levels, and I will say to say this though, I disagree with the vape pen things. I don't like the vape pens. That's just me. I like the wax pens where you put the concentrate in and just heat it up. Those are more on terp profile for me. I just have this like, I wouldn't say detest, but damn near detest for distillate. I just don't dig distillate. I don't care what you put in it. I can still taste it, and it's annoying as shit. That's because I had a really bad distillate experience, so color me shocked. I do want to be proven wrong. I'll always try one, but I'll always no, or yeah, that's not bad. So I guess it depends on the brands, but I feel that, man. On the edibles too, though, like what a lot of people don't understand is like, there's other terpenes in the food that us chefs have known about that are going to affect your quote-unquote high or your elevated feeling. That's what people don't take into consideration. That's where that rumor myrcene with mangoes comes out. That is absolutely true, 100%. Because they compound. They don't negate themselves out unless you're using specific blends and things like that to negate those out, or negate, out the psychoactive effects of the THC to try and get a mellow chill. People playing with that. Well, yeah, chefs know how to do that. You know what I mean? And so I feel that the complexity of that has to pull away from somewhere and see a distillate, like, bye. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I feel that, man. I like that. So if you had to turn to like a time of day to smoke, what would it be? Would it be more in the morning or like more in the afternoon?
Afternoon, evening.
Okay, I feel that.
There's a misconception about people that use cannabis that we're lazy. Yeah. And we're not, man. I was listening to a Rogan podcast, and he was saying the same thing. He's like, dude, I do so much. And like, so do I. I can relate to that. I was talking to my mom about it the other day. She's still on the fence about my cannabis use as an adult. She was a big time, user as a teenager back in the day. But, that older boomer generation is still skeptical, and they're warming up to it. They're starting to use it as medicine in their latter years in life, which I think is awesome. There's still this like skeptical. I'm like, are you kidding me? This stuff helps me recharge and relax, so that every morning I get up at 5, 6 o'clock at the latest, and it's go time. I manage accounts all over the country. I'm accountable to people all over the country. I got a young dog, a little puppy energy. He's wanting to go to the dog park. Arizona's 120. If you're not at the park at 6 a.m., he ain't getting out, and then he's angry. So there's a lot. And also just a firm believer that like getting up early and getting shit done gives you a better mindset of accomplishment by noon, so that you're in a better, healthier mindset every day, right? So cannabis for me is a medicine. I can't say it saves my life. More so, psychedelics have saved my life the last couple of years. But using them together correctly, not abusing them, and using them in the doses that work for me, which I will be honest are smaller than they used to be. Because before I was using it as like an addiction, where now it's like, oh, it's helping me relax, it's helping with pain relief. So for me, yeah, it's mostly evenings.
Yeah, dude, no, I feel that so much. And I want to touch a little bit about the microdosing of shrooms. So that's something that I'm new to. I've done shrooms before, and it was for, one thing. And this, we're talking 10, 15 years. It just wasn't my jam. But at the same time, I'm like, hang on a minute. I was like, I also said that back then about weed. Okay, let's do some shrooms. And so, like, boom, there it is. So I do have an affinity for shrooms. Don't get me wrong. I love those, but I think that microdosing should be, honestly, exploited more. I'm surprised it isn't, but I feel that it is at some point. But I think that we should look more into that. You know what I mean?
I started working intensely back in October of 2019 with doing 4 days a week, 0.3 grams. So it's a microdose where you can still function.
Yeah.
4 days on, 3 days off. It's a capsule form. It's 0.3 grams
That's
of
not bad.
psilocybin, but then there's also chaga and lion's mane and cordyceps and spirulina and all that good shit. Take the capsule in the morning first thing, and now I don't need it as often. It's more of just like an adjuster, but it definitely helps your mindset. Things are brighter, you're more present in the moment. The things that used to stress me out, I'm just laughing at now, which then contributes to your overall homeostasis and well-being, because if you're not stressed out about stuff, you're not angry. If you're not angry, it leads to depression, right? So I'm a firm believer in it. I'm also a firm believer in you find what works for you.
Oh, absolutely.
So don't listen to anything I'm saying, or don't do it my way. Do it. Find what works for you, because everybody's body's different.
Yep.
But I'm a firm believer that if we were to microdose the entire 7 billion people in the world for a week or two, we would see a lot of the labels disappear. We would see a lot of the disagreements disappear. We would end a lot of human suffering, and we would stop looking at each other as enemies because of labels society's created, and we would look at each other as brothers and sisters and be a little bit more harmonious. Now, people might think I'm crazy, but I argue we'll never know because we haven't gotten there yet. But the more people I have introduced to microdosing, which is quite a few, and the others that have introduced me, and the more the network we're building, we're seeing amazing benefits. I mean, Harvard and Yale are researching this. There's publicly traded psilocybin MDMA companies that are using studies to help. Hey, like, military vets, we train them to go kill, and then we don't have a way for them to de-escalate that trauma. So there's a ton of PTSD that we are helping, whether it's military or trauma victims. So I think that we're just starting to scratch the surface, and it's going to continue to get better and better. But also, like, once again, folks, do your own research, find a reliable source. Don't listen to everything I say 100%. I'm not an expert. I just know that it works for me personally.
We're just offering a different perspective. That's what it is. This worked for us, and not stealing any thunder away from what Chef was saying. But, it's still one of those things where it's like, yo, man, don't think that your life can get worse, because it can. You know what I mean? Trust me. I've done a line of coke in Rock Bottom's basement before. Let me let you know. It sucks. Being chefs, we're always, we're very militaristic in how the hierarchy is set up. Thus, very, it's easy for people from the military to go into being a chef afterwards, and vice versa, because of the dogmatic drive of other whatever. It's very similar in the hierarchy, okay? And the pay is about the same. Let's say that, from what I've found out. So, being a certain rank in the Army, you're expected to do a certain thing, and being a certain rank in the kitchen, you get the idea. So, I've talked to some people that are in the Army. I've talked to people that have done culinary in the Army. A lot of love for people in the Army. Shout out Operation 1620. A lot of people are out there trying to help. Let's get the word out there. Ron's doing a huge, awesome thing. Caleb's doing an awesome thing. Let's get the help to the people that need it first, because you know what? Here's the thing. They were forgotten by a system that they probably weren't expected to live what they did, but they did. You know what I'm saying? So let's help those people, man. They're protecting our country. That's the point. We've kind of forgotten what that means. And so let's get back to them. And that's, again, doing it for chefs too. So we're trying to help everyone here. And that's the vibe, y'all. That's that smooth, funky bass line that everybody wants to hear to get the party jumping and shit, And if that shit don't work, this last dub coming at you, the crazy dub. We're going to talk about the crazy dub when we come back. If that shit don't work, check out Hemphill Farms, y'all. HemphillFarms.com. Check this out. That's hemphillfarms.com, y'all. Yo, Andy and Chris are out there just slaying it, man. You know this. Like they're doing so much.
It's a blessing to live so close by to them and be able to source their products. He's got a new 1,500 milligram CBD cream.
Ooh.
That's on every trip with me for pain. It's amazing.
Yo, so he sent me a while back. He sent me a sweatshirt. I got that. You know, obviously don't need it right now. He sent me a hat and all kinds of cool stuff. And I'm like, obviously, love. You know, mad love, man. And so he had, what was it? I think it was Gorilla Glue. Yeah, I think it was Gorilla Glue. He had the dabs, the CBD dabs.
Whoa.
And I was just like, nah, dude, it's not going to be the same, whatever, fine. And he sent me some isolate as a sample, and he sent me the CBD dabs. He's like, yo, try these. And I'll tell you, dude, I was like, yo, those shits hit. Like, it's not even a joke. I was like, all right. And I found myself like wanting more, and I've been meaning to put it in an order, and now I'm going to do it. That's, you know, exactly. But hemphillfarms.com, y'all, mad love to those guys. They're actually working with, who was it? Derek Upton.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're working with him. They're working with, I think Drew Aaron was just there from Hell's Kitchen. Yeah. And who knows, Deliciously Dope might stop over there. I don't know.
There's a rumor they're hosting a culinary cooking competition with Cannabis with Derek and Chris are judges. I don't know if I'm spoiling. I don't know if it's happening.
Sure they won't mind.
There's going to be some. I don't know the details. They were asking me if I wanted to be one of the chefs in the thing, and I'm like, I'm not a cannabis chef. Let the other cannabis chefs pursue that stuff. I'll be a judge or something. I don't know.
Right.
But they're up to some really amazing stuff down.
They're doing. Yeah. That's really the emphasis that we want to embody here, is because they're moving mountains. You know, they're pioneers in the industry, and I think that it's an honor and a privilege to not only have tried a good solid product from a good grassroots kind of person, as Chris's book, you know, led me to believe that he is. I say that very jokingly. He's a great person. He is. But I think that it works, you know, just like that. And they're only trying to heal people. And honestly, like, I can't say it. It's an honor and a privilege, and I'm kind of tripling over my words, because that's really, you know, that's the kind of, you know, the gratitude that we pay forward, and that you can taste that in the way that they do things, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. The work he does for the community too.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous. It's like every time I start to feel tired, I look to Chris Martin and my other buddy Abel that runs the Mezcal company. I'm like, those guys work so much harder than me. I got to step my game up, man. They're just kicking butt every day.
That's it. You got to surround yourself, you know, with the people that you want to be like and end up like. You know, it's that vibe, it's that drive. I feel that, man, so many levels. But let's talk about a crazy time. We've all had that time, man, where we're smoking, we're eating, we're drinking. It is what it is, but we've just had way too much, man. More specifically on cannabis. Have you ever had one of those times where you smoked just maybe a little bit too much weed and you were a little too high?
Oh, there's a few. How much time you got? It's like, what?
There's always more than one.
Come on, man. I worked in the kitchen for 15 years. I was always on something. No, the one that was really, really bad was when I first moved to Tempe, Arizona back in like 2007.
Okay.
And I was trying to make friends and living with this girl that I went to high school with and two of her roommates. And we were all like early 20s. We weren't in college, but we were living right by college. It was party time by ASU. And I had been working out with one of my buddies, and I got back to the house. I hadn't eaten all day. Like, I'm super high. My heart's racing. I'm sweaty. And I hit on some weed pen, or it wasn't a weed pen. I don't know. I smoked a ball. I don't even remember. It was like a bong hit or something. And I was so out of my skull. I locked myself in my room. I was convinced the cops were outside about to raid the house. I was like turning pale white. And I was running around the house freaking out. My roommates are like, chill the fuck out. My homegirl gets home, and she's known me forever, and she's like, has anybody thought he needs some food? Not even like munchies, but like blood pressure was like plummeting. I was high as a kite, and I had just worked out, and I was like two different things, you know. And even back in 07, like the weed, there's like the sativas and the indicas and the sativas for working out. But man, I'd already got my pump on, so I was like, and then so it was just like
your blood.
I'm looking out the blinds, like looking for like, I think the lights of a car. I think it's like cops with flashlights. I was out of my skull. It was a miserable experience. I actually wound up not smoking again for like a year because it was so bad. There was another one though when I was fresh out of high school, moved to the beach in Ocean City, Maryland, and my roommate thought it would be fun to mix weed with other things
Oh, no.
and put it in the bong and not tell you.
No.
So he snuck muscle relaxers into a bong hit, and I took a massive rip and was like glued to a wall all night standing. I couldn't move. I was like paralyzed. My brother's like, "You okay?" I'm like,
No.
"I'm high, but I don't know what's wrong." And then like hours later, he's like, "How'd you like that, bro?" I'm like, "Dude, that's the most fucked up thing you could ever do."
Yeah.
By the way, don't ever do
do
anything ever to lace anybody with anything. But that was also that teenage, like 19-year-old, 18-year-old, we're stupid. So, but now it's just more so know your limits.
Yep.
You know, as you get older, you're not doing it to show anybody up how much you can do, or how or abusing it because of I'm depressed, I need this. For me, it's medicine. So now it's more so for fun. But those two experiences were terrifying.
I think, you know, those, they go up there with, you know, definite like top 20 for sure. You know, we've heard some crazy shit, and that's pretty crazy. But at the same time, like, the emphasis here is really to, like, yes, know your limits, know what you're trying to heal. You know that, you know, there's a difference between recreational and medicinal. Know what these things mean. Basically consume responsibly, which is the exact same thing they say on everything. You know, that's my point. Whether it be cigarettes, booze, or whatever have you, you know, consume responsibly. I think that hearing these stories and going back and laughing about them now, and then, you know, then realizing, oh, okay, yeah, he just needs a little bit of, you know, somebody feed him, you know what I mean? Or you know, or like, oh shit, maybe you don't do that, you know what I mean? Or don't lace people's shit. Like, that's the point of it. There exists these travesties in the kitchen. You know, we may talk about spitting in someone's food, but we're not going to actually do it. That's the thing. If you are doing it, then you're a piece of shit, and you should be judged just so, you know, just like a person lacing something without telling somebody first, you know, that's not okay. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, I've been date raped. It wasn't fun. Like, I wasn't raped, I'm not saying that, but like, fucking, like, they drugged the shit out of me, you see what I'm saying? Like, and it was not fun. Like, it was, you know, I was planning on doing other drugs that night, and then I did those drugs that night, not knowing that I was drugged. You know what I mean? No, it was not fun. It was 10 hours of my life that I'm not getting back, and, you know, decisions that it was not a good time. That's not okay. And now I'm learning years later that these people purposely did that. That's not okay. That's my point, you know, and always get consent, you know, if you will, for anything that you do. That's more important. But 9 times out of 10, you pass a joint, you're not going to think to ask, hey, what's in this? You're going to smell it and be like, well, I know exactly what's in that. You know what I mean? But let's be fair, y'all. You know, make sure that, you know, you're dosing accordingly. If you know what you're trying to heal, let's make sure that you're, you know, partaking the right way. Okay, let's do this with a little bit of elegance and grace. Let's enter with grace and exit with grace, as though we can, you know, accrue back to being, you know, kitchens and stuff. 9 times out of 10, when you come into a new kitchen, it seems pretty easy and stuff. Then once you learn to know people's drama and bullshit, that's when things either become stagnant or you become stuck in that rut as well, or whatever have you. But, you know, let's take an appropriate measure and look at the medicinal sides of cannabis and what it means, so that we can actually, you know, I don't know, heal from this shit and move on. You know what I'm saying? There's so many things that we're coming around to that's going to be amazing. Speaking of coming around to things and amazing, we've reached the last dub of the show. This is the planned dub, man. It's the sesh where we kind of sit down and we talk about, you know, who you've wanted to smoke with, and kind of, you know, get into the mind of what you would do if you had the chance to smoke with these people. We're gonna do a real quick message from Monroe Street Fair, and then we're gonna come back for the last dub, y'all. That's the Monroe Street Fair, monroestreetfair.com, y'all. We're back with my man Bryon Freeze, culinarylove.org. Yo, Chef, if there was one person in the world, or we can pick two if you want, dead or alive, that you could smoke with, who would you smoke with? and what would you smoke with them?
That's a tough question.
It is.
Yeah.
Because you only get to pick one. You're like, well, fuck everyone. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you're like, oh, one. Huh.
It's like that Instagram post with like 8 options, and like, which one would you smoke with? I'm like, all of them at the same time.
Yeah. That's
you know,
a party.
yeah, right. I feel like I'd say Bourdain, man.
I would.
I would want to blaze with Bourdain. Him or Jimi Hendrix.
You know, that's fair. That's fair. Because I feel there's a lot left unsaid that he was trying to say. You know, and I feel that it's up to us to kind of carry that on. But like, okay, if you learned a lot from Bourdain or this, and that, and the other, then why aren't you doing that? You know, why aren't we filling that void? Why aren't we trying to carry that message on? And I think that a lot could be said without saying anything. And you know, with that comes a lot unsaid, and I think that that's what he would have said. You know.
Yeah.
And honestly, to tell you the truth, I feel that if you go back and watch the amazing documentaries that he did and the way that he did them, I feel like you get a chance to actually drink with him and you get a chance to actually smoke with him. Because let's face it, he went to other countries back when things may have been or may not have been legal. So if you're looking for one, go look at the Cafe Baba episode that he did, and you'll know exactly what I mean. And that makes me feel a little bit closer to him, as creepy and weird as that sounds. But at the same time, you know, just it's a thank you. You know what I mean? And with Mr. Hendrix, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now? Like, yeah, well, duh. You know what I mean? Like,
Until
that's not even.
I'm gonna probably butcher this, but it's until the world realizes the power of love is more important than the love of power, we will never know peace. My dog's name is Hendrix Bourdain. You know, so those are very influential people into who I am as a person. Is Hendrix's music and Bourdain's, just the way he lived is very relatable for me. So, yeah, I would definitely want to toke one with one of those guys.
Absolutely, man. I mean, shit, I might try to backstage that. You know what I mean? Kind of sneak in. That's you know, little. Low-key complex of mine, you know, but that's something that you would definitely want to sit in on, you know. And I think that those messages can be carried on, you know, today, and it's up to us, you know. And they knew that, and they knew somewhere, some dumbass that's, you know, is going to pop out and say the right things at the right time and help me continue this on. They knew that. Paul Bocuse knew that, you know. Augustus Scoffier knew that. Julia Child knew that, you know. Even you know, Guy Fieri knows that, you know. And that's my point. Like, I think you reach this point in your time where morality sets in. You know, no longer is it the days of I can drink as much as I want and not get a hangover, or I, you know, just continue drinking and get up going to work drunk, and to the where, you know, I'll be honest with you, man, you know, I had to learn how to cook all over again once I become sober, because I was like, what is this missing? And it always felt like it was missing something, because I was so used to tasting booze that's what every recipe had in it. You know, and so to, you know, basically reemerge as this non-narcissistic asshole again, I kind of like had to you know, shut a few doors and windows to my life and you know, reflect inward. And I feel that people aren't ready for it. You know, I feel that it needs to continue. It needs to come out there. And I think that's what we're going to drop this on them. But I would absolutely love to, in any way that I can, collaborate Deliciously Dope with Culinary Love, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that spreading that love and showing people that it takes balls to say that you love somebody, you know. I mean, you want to sit there and fight against each other, that's fine. Let's you hugs each other first.
Yeah.
You know,
there's strength in admitting weakness. And we don't talk about that enough. There's strength in saying you're not okay. There's real integrity in being truthful and honest and saying you need help. And we need to rewire that as a way of being in our society. And we're seeing it happen, and change takes time, and chefs are impatient. We're not going away.
Yeah.
I wanted to shut it down during COVID because I went into victim mode.
Right.
Like, oh, I got furloughed and I don't know what to do, and this sucks, and everybody that was helping went away. Well, they went into survival mode.
Yeah.
Everybody had to survive. We all got our shit kicked in together, and it's all good. I got nothing but love for anybody that's helped us in the past, that's helping us now, that's helping us in the future. Come and go as you please. But it's like that that Frank Marsh meme that's circulating on from South Park where he's all beat up. I didn't hear no bell. So we're gonna keep going,
That's
and
true.
we're gonna keep fighting the good fight to be of service and helping people in hospitality. And we're just really getting started in the first place. So we're gonna have some fun along the way. Keep an eye out for a lot of really fun events in the future.
Absolutely, you guys, gals, everybody in between, culinarylove.org. Big things coming from them, big things coming from everybody, because honestly, we just need to be pushed to be, a lot bigger than we are now, and that's the point of it. That comes down to accountability. Honestly, you can't move forward if you aren't accountable for your past, because your past was a foundation that bred you to be the asshole that you see, well, when you look in the mirror. So, honestly, I push people to be greater. I push people to be better. It's don't become a statistic. Don't become, once you become predictable, you become beatable, and that's the issue. I don't want you to live this mundane monotony from day to day. I don't want you to do that. I want you to be able to heal. I want you to be able to reach out and say what's up to, Chef Bryon Freeze, myself, anyone kind of out there, man. We're out there. We're trying to help you, but at the same time, we won't know. We don't know there's a problem until you tell us. You understand? Speak up, speak out, be heard, and that's the point. Everybody knows what heard means. If you don't know, now you know. You feel me? Now, my tokers, my jokers, my smokers, we've reached another amazing and pinnacle episode here in the Daily Chronicles. We've been doing this for a while now, y'all. And I think that with these collaborations and the way that we're moving, I think that we're going to bring a lot of awesome stuff to your faces. We have some pretty big news that we should be able to announce next week with some pretty awesome names, y'all. But August 21st is a day that everyone's going to want to hear about and know about here soon. That being said, Bryon Freeze, thank you very much, Chef, for coming on the show. Thank you, thank you, thank you. CulinaryLove.org. Tokers, jokers, and smokers, take it easy, take it sleazy, take it, any way you want, just be breezy. I'm your man, Chef Rodney. We'll see you guys on the flip, y'all. Peace.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Tell me, how has cannabis impacted your life?
Now, this is something I've been asked a few times now. The answer is simple. It gave me my life back. Over the years of putting a flame to a pan or mincing onions, I've learned that state of mind is a powerful thing. Far too often do we let things like anxiety and depression take the wheel and steer us. The use of cannabis has taught me the importance of self-care, which has allowed me to take a step back, observe, deduce, and calculate my feelings and emotions. This has helped me in so many ways in and out of the kitchen. That I believe in this so much, I've decided to change my life and help erase the stigma behind the devil's lettuce. This is where I choose to tell my story with flavors and terpenes. Only this is where I add my own flavor, a flavor that can help people heal as I did. Cannabis. So grab a joint, light it up, and come with me as I embark on this journey. This is Deliciously Dope, a journey into the world of culinary cannabis.
Hi, I'm Patrick McNeil, starting out and struggling actor. Known for two things in my short and illustrious career I've had so far, and that's being a skid and doing meth. On Letterkenny, of course. I've done it all in the background. Moving, dancing, drinking, not talking. Now I think I'm ready to get out of that background with the new voice box I got from Walmart. Works great from the background all the way to the foreground of film. Let's go. Here's some of my acting emotions that I think I was talking to you about earlier. Here's me happy. So what's this joyous news I hear? Oh, Grandma's not responding. Oh, well, you better cash in on that insurance policy. Here's me angry. Jordan took a bite out of it. I can't just take this beef, cut it, take the extractor remains from your word hole, and then sell it to a new customer. Now, can I?
Here's me sad.
Ketchup on the burger. What in the name of Poseidon's boots are you talking about? This is an audition for a taxi cab. For burgers and ketchup. Next.
Here's me after a month-long drug, booze, and burrito binge.
Ugh. I'm a character actor, meaning I play characters on movies and TV shows, probably. So if I put 2 and 2 together, it's not 5, meaning I can be a character actor. So the next time you need a hobo,
Spare change for old Albert, sir.
a drug dealer,
Hey, Holmes, I got that Jaja from Lake Titicaca.
or a serial killer for your next unionized gig,
I'm gonna be your serial killer today. I stabbed it. It hasn't come out yet. Where am I supposed to look?
call me up and I'll kill the performance. Get it? Serial killer? Never mind. Yeah, just call me for the next video production or, your next production there, buddy. All right.
What the fuck are you doing in my house? What is going? Where did you get in here?
You won't be disappointed.
How are you here?
This is not my
Get out!
Gotta go. Bye.
And dear Patrick, please pay by this or break your legs by the 30th. Oh, hey, you made it to the back of the video. That is awesome. So make sure to like it, subscribe to it, so you stay chained to it. Now, I'm gonna go pay off some debt that I don't know, or my legs get broken. Like the papers. You can into the forest. Looking left and right, nails in his hands.
Yeah, hello?
Greetings.
Where is he?
We can't happen like you said, and then we just dropped
Well,
him.
he's a star of our new review line, and I need him here, so...
No, you're a fucking important.
Hey, never mind, Paul. I found him. He's here. Making a bunch of racket.
My name is Paul. In 1997.
Hello, Mr. Flynn.
Fuck is Mr. Finn? You fucking assaulted me? Huh?
No, Albert.
Well, fucking ain't no why are you two feeling, dick? How the fuck I get here?
I don't know why I'm holding this. Funny story about that. Production van came, kidnapped you, because you never want to fucking cooperate every time we have to make a video, because I own you, right? So let's get this review on the line and get this train wreck fucking moving, okay? Get to it.
Where's my fucking shoes?
Well, there's a hot turkey sandwich in it for you if you shut the fuck up and just do what I tell you to review.
I don't know how to renew shit for you, fucking little shit bitch. No, you go fucking take a shit, you little bitch.
You'll get food.
Oh, why didn't you tell Albert Flynn or that? Man, I'll do some turkey. I need food, I'm hungry.
You got to review this wine. I can see you already have a bottle of liquor with you, but I need your judgment for this.
Fucking, you got a wizard? What's that? You're a fucking leprechaun.
Yes, Al.
Wallaroo? Is this a bottle of fucking water?
No, Albert. No.
Yeah. You want my thoughts on Wallaroo? Wallaroo Trail?
Yes, Al.
Wine? This fucking cunt. You want me to Shires? I don't know that guy in jail. Blend vines from Australia, Canada.
I don't know why they picked him up. They said he was only 6 out of 10 drunk. I don't know why he's being like this. He's just going on and on.
Here's a little story of a Wallaroo. Halfway between a Wallaroo and a kangaroo is often found in vineyards of Austria,
These Austrians have a kangaroo. Stop being me.
It's Australia, Al. Just so you know.
Probably gonna try it out, maybe though. I fucking hate wine.
Just drink it and tell us what you freaking think, man.
Read the rest, so we're gonna have a little taste. We'll smell it. We're all out of winter.
How can this guy drink liquor and wine all at once? What's he doing?
It's not bad, actually. Premium. A little slick, and I'm shut the fuck up. It's not for me. I don't know why.
Well, that went way better than I expected. And like, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? Hey, Al, Albert!
Greetings, Fly.
Yeah, Paula?
It's Paul.
Al's out again.
I'm Big Steve.
I don't fucking care about that. Get Big Steve. He's the only guy that can pick him up.
Big Steve's
Or get another fucking person for me so I can lift him up and get him the fuck out of here, please. We'll throw him back out on the street. We'll hook up with him again.
Everyone's on lunch. Can you just drop me?
Oh my god, just get Big Steve here now. He's the only guy who lives by himself. Bye. Fucking PAs. Fuck's sakes.